Gone are the days of complex configurations to set up Flutter on your machine. Today, you really only need two essential tools to get started. First, you need Git. This is an industry standard version control system that allows you to manage your code history and also collaborate with other developers. This tool is a standard tool that many professional developers are using today. Secondly, you need Visual Studio Code. This is currently the most popular IDE or integrated development environment for writing most languages, and for our case for writing Flutter applications due to its speed and vast extension library. Let's jump into the installation process. To install Git onto your local machine, you need to go to this website, git-scm.com. That's git-scm.com. And once you get to this website, you just basically need to click on this install for Windows or install for your particular machine button. So for me, since I'm installing on a Windows machine, I'm going to be clicking this button, and I'm going to also click this Git for Windows slash x64 setup. So now, after clicking on this Git for Windows setup, I also want you to go to code.visualstudio.com because we're also going to install Visual Studio Code. And once you get to this website, the website again is code.visualstudio.com. Once you get to this website, I want you to click on this button right here. For me, since I'm using a Windows machine, that's why we see a download for Windows here. Then I also want you to click on it and get the installation started. For me, I've already downloaded these files. So I will just stop this and go to my file explorer to install. So because of the size of this video, we are not going to be going fully into the setup of Git. I would want us to find other videos to go into the express details on Git. But for us, we are just going to be setting up Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to double tap. I'm going to install this. I'm going to install this. Okay. So I'm going to select I accept the agreement, then next, then next, then next. Then I can also create tokens, then next, and install. So right now my Visual Studio Code is installing, it's preparing to install. So basically Visual Studio Code helps us to helps us to install Flutter, as we are going to see in a couple of minutes. Alright, so now my Visual Studio Code setup is completed, and now I can click on finish to launch Visual Studio Code. So right now we're going to be going straight into the installation process of Flutter. So immediately on Visual Studio Code, I want you to go into the extensions page. And then in the marketplace, search for Flutter. This is the Flutter extension for Visual Studio Code. Now, this process is also same for both Mac and Linux. So if you're using a Linux machine or a Mac OS device, you can also follow the same process to install Flutter on your device. All you need is GitHub or Git application setup on your machine, and also now to come to Visual Studio Code to install the Flutter extension. So I'm going to click on install this right now. Yes, trust the publisher and install. Now the Flutter extension is installed on this machine. Now all I need to do is to come back to the Explorer page, and I'm going to click on open folder, or if you have opened a folder before, you can also use any folder. So I'm going to open a folder, and then I'm going to put my documents. You can select any folder of your choice, but I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to create a new folder. Let's call it Flutter Flutter Bootcamp project. Okay. So I'm going to create the folder, then open that folder in Visual Studio Code. So just in case you are skipping, if you are skipping over to this time because you already have Git installed and Vis- if you are skipping over to this time because you already have Git installed and you already have Visual Studio Code installed, welcome. So this time we're just going to be creating a new folder. We're going to be opening a new folder in our Visual Studio Code, and then we're going to click on Ctrl Shift P. So Ctrl Shift P is like a toolbox in Visual Studio Code. I'm not going to go too much into that, but what I'm just going to search for here is Flutter. So as you can see, Flutter shows up there because we have already downloaded the Flutter extension. So I'm going to select Flutter. I'm going to select Run Flutter Doctor. So as you have run this now, we now see that the Flutter cannot find an SDK. This is what we want. We want our Flutter extension to download the SDK for us. And if you are someone who already has, maybe you manually downloaded a Flutter SDK on your device, then I want you to click Locate SDK. But if you're just getting started and you've never installed Flutter before, I want you to click on Download SDK. So after clicking on download SDK, I want you to go to a particular folder, probably in your, it's best if it's in your C drive. I'm going to go into my C drive. Then in my C drive, I'm going to create a new folder. I can give it the name Flutter installation. I can give it the name Flutter, or better still, I can say SRC Flutter. I would recommend you basically just use SRC, but I already have a previous installation of Flutter and I do not want it to cause any issues, so I'm trying to save it in another name. So I'm creating a new folder. Yeah, I'm going to click on Clone Flutter. So let me open the folder. Then I'm going to click on Clone Flutter. So now my Flutter SDK is downloading. And note that depending on your internet connection, this might take a few minutes. But this is how you install Flutter onto your device. I hope this has been very helpful. So the process again, I'm going to go over it again, is to install Git. Make sure you have Git on your system before, whichever system you use, whether it be for Mac OS, whether it be for, you can follow these steps on the Git SCM website. And also you need to install Visual Studio Code. This makes it simple, unlike previous years where it was more complicated to install Flutter. So we have Visual Studio Code. Then after installing Visual Studio Code, you basically install the Flutter extension, and through the Flutter extension, you can now install the Flutter SDK. You can now download the Flutter SDK. So my Flutter SDK is downloading now.